A middle school boy named Ganta Igarashi is going on a field trip with his classmates to Deaman, Wonderland, a privately owned prison that serves as an amusement park for the general public. While the planning is underway, a mysterious red man appears and kills the entire class and thrusts a red stone onto Ganta's chest. Since he was the only survivor of his class, Ganta is charged on the accounts of mass murder. Due to the overwhelming and fabricated evidence presented against him with no way to find his innocence, he is sentenced to death and sent to Deaman, Wonderland's prison. While the higher-ups of the prison management plot to kill Ganta in an accident, he meets a strange snow-haired girl named Shiro, who manages to read his heart and understand him. Once a bunch of bullies starts to beat up Ganta and Shiro, an explosion occurs which causes a large object to fall toward Ganta, but his desire to live to enact his vengeance upon the Red Man activates the powers implanted in him via the stone, allowing him to control his blood to save himself as well as Shiro. Ganta meets a fellow inmate Yo Takami and learns from him that in order to have a decent meal in prison, one must earn caste points. The former then learns of a dog race, where he can enter to win a big prize, which he and Yo decide to enter. In a locker room, they encounter a fierce inmate named Kazumasa Kozuji who instills fear in others until Makina, the prison warden, silences him. Ganta soon learns that in order to avoid being killed by the poison present in their prisoner neck collars, they have to eat candies as their antidote, which was secretly stolen from his bag by Yo the other day. He realizes that in order to survive, he needs to win the race in order to purchase a new bag of candies, but the course is littered with actual death traps. Thanks in part to Shiro's innocent manner, Ganta and Shiro make it to the final stage against the feared inmate Kazumasa, where they have to hold onto a ball and avoid falling into a snake pit. Ganta decides to stand up to Kazumasa, who eventually falls to his death. In the final moments of the round, Ganta is forced to sacrifice the ball and the prize money in order to keep Shiro from falling and eating the runner-up prize together. Yo, who is now put in charge of observing Ganta by the warden Tsunaga Tamaki, Yo gives Ganta a piece of candy so that the latter may live to see another day, with Ganta unaware of the fact that Yo is putting him in debt. The red man is now revealed to be the wretched egg and breaks loose while appearing before Ganta, after which Ganta tries to attack the creature using his own abilities, but the wretched egg escapes not long before Ganta becomes unconscious. After waking up, he learns from other witnesses that the wretched egg is locked up in the G block of the prison, so he and Shiro decide to go there. Rendering him dangerous, Makina puts the facility on lockdown and sends a fierce security robot after Ganta. As it approaches him, Ganta and Yo follow Shiro into a secret passage leading toward the G block. Once Shiro is about to confront the robot, it is destroyed by the arrival of another inmate with similar powers as Ganta. Ganta attacks the inmate with similar powers who is known as Senji Kiyomasa, since the former thinks the latter is the red man but falls at a disadvantage against him since Senji can form blades with his blood. Ganta soon launches a counterattack after he gets to learn the nature of his own power, as well as others similar to it, which is known as the Branch of Sin. He then realizes that Senji is not the wretched egg, but one of the several dead men with the power of Branch of Sin. Senji tries to attack Ganta again but finds himself weak and exhausted against Shiro before a special unit appears, tranquilizing Ganta and Senji and taking Shiro and Yo to an empty corridor. As Ganta is examined, he comes face to face with the warden Tamaki, who reveals that he rigged Ganta's jury to get him sent to Deaman Wonderland before revealing that Ganta will face off against Senji in a battle the next day, tempting him with the offer of coming face to face with the wretched egg. As Ganta is tortured with snuff films and footage of what a carnival corpse entails, Makina decides to confront the chief director concerning the mysteries of G Block. Makina is halted by Chan and En, who are the bodyguards of the chief director of the Deaman Wonderland prison, preventing her from entering his office. Ganta is then thrust into his carnival corpse match with Senji, and is at a disadvantage against Senji, since his projectiles use too much blood and cause him to develop anemia. As he becomes helpless and falls into despair, he recalls memories of Shiro and manages to get back up, using the environment to get a hit on Seiji. After escaping from the corridor, Shiro and Yo head towards the G block after Yo hears the whereabouts of a woman he is searching for. Once Ganta recovers and is proven victorious at the end of the battle, he is horrified to discover that Seiji is forced to lose one of his eyes as a result of losing. As Yo uses Shiro as a diversion so he can escape on his own, he bears witness to her true destructive ability, as she herself has the power branch of sin. As Shiro falls unconscious and is picked up by Chan and En, while Yo continues his way to G block, Ganta encounters a girl named Minatsuki Takami, another dead man who killed her abusive father. Ganta offers the young lady the chance to help escape the prison, but he soon finds out that she is his next opponent in the upcoming carnival corpse match. Once the match begins, her personality changes and attacks Ganta with her whip-like branch of sin, revealing that she had manipulated him into taking an injury prior to the start of the match. Yo, however, appears during the match and reveals that Minatsuki is her little sister, and says that he plans to gain enough cast points to buy her freedom before entering the match. Minatsuki tries to manipulate Yo against Ganta, but he turns on her instead after having the truth regarding his father's death. Minatsuki captures Yo and uses him as a human shield against Ganta while revealing the fact that she has shown nothing but contempt and hatred for her mother ever since she left her for dead and saved her plant collection instead during the Red Hole incident. Ganta manages to disable one of her whips and free Yo before knocking her out with a headbutt, becoming the victor of the match as a result. After a strange earthquake occurs during which Yo rushes to keep Minatsuki from harm, Ganta starts to remember things about Shiro, who is revealed to be the wretched egg. As Ganta recalls her childhood with Shiro, Yo cannot bring himself to mention what he had seen her do. As Yo goes to recover the casts that were stolen from him, he learns from Tamaki that casts cannot be used to reduce the sentences of G-Block inmates, and is then attacked by a man named Azuma Genkaku, part of an anti-Deaman force known as the Undertakers. Meanwhile, Ganta meets Naji Kengami and Kareko Kashio, who are members of a Deaman prison gang known as Scar Chain, with their primary goal being to destroy Deaman Wonderland. Naji and Kareko invite Ganta to join their gang. As Minatsuki goes through a penalty game, Naji arranges it so that she only loses her hair. Just then, Genkaku appears and attacks Ganta and the others. All the while Genkaku attacks the rest of the gang, Ganta is saved by the arrival of Shiro, who is back under control by the lullaby, to which Genkaku retreats. After the incident, Ganta is introduced to the rest of the Scar Chain members, who oppose the prison and are plotting to expose its secrets on Inspection Week. Makina also plans to take advantage of this situation in order to find out what secrets are being hidden from her. However, Ganta becomes a little distrustful when his claims of his branch of sin being stopped by Genkaku differ from what the security cameras show, and takes his leave. Ganta later learns from Seiji that Genkaku killed Naji's wife, also hearing from Naji about how each member of Scar Chain has their own ideas of freedom. Just as Ganta promises Shiro to take her on a Ferris wheel whenever they escape the prison, it is shown that one of Scar Chain's members, who goes by the name of Bunda Rokuro, is a double agent for the Undertakers. Ganta then decides to join Scar Chain, who begins their operation of leaking information about Deaman to the outside world. As Naji and Rokuro go to the security room, Ganta and the others are chased by an acid-spewing robot, to which Kareko opts to stay behind to save the others. After remembering the time she joined Scar Chain, Kareko defends herself from the acid-spewing robot and destroys it, falling down with it. Meanwhile, Naji is betrayed by Rokuro and confronted by an Undertaker named Hibana Data, who uses a special weapon to neutralize his branch of sin. Just as Hibana starts slicing off bits of Naji's flesh, he provokes her into chopping off his arm by mentioning her abusive mother, giving him the opportunity to activate the elevator Ganta's group needs to take. However, the group is confronted by Genkaku and his men, leaving only Ganta and a few others left alive to carry the chip containing the information regarding the Deaman. While bleeding, Naji makes a call to the hideout, which is heard by Shiro, who catches up to Ganta and throws the chip into a fire. This enrages Ganta for Shiro's act and tells her that he never wants to see her again, and proceeded to punch her. Meanwhile, Makina investigates Tamaki's office, overhearing a conversation between him and the defense secretary concerning the Deaman. As Kareko and the others discuss their next plan, Rokuro appears and reveals that the data chip was actually a bomb he had made before announcing that the group is being held hostage unless Naji agrees to become an Undertaker. As Rokuro decides to execute Ganta first, Seiji appears on the scene, managing to fight back against the Undertakers using sonic blasts. While Shiro laments her situation with Ganta, she meets Toko Sakigami, the one who told her about the bomb and the chip. A hoary in his weak self, Ganta asks Seiji to teach him how to use his branch of sin to fight. Meanwhile, Kareko attempts to infiltrate the Undertakers by disguising herself as a guard. As Tomino appears before Ganta and Seiji during their training session, Shiro, who gets drunk off of liquor sweets, appears before Genkaku, who also discovers Kareko. Just as Ganta manages to produce a blood bullet that can break the sound barrier, Genkaku announces the capture of Shiro and Kareko by him. Despite being anemic due to his excessive blood use, Ganta rushes to where Genkaku is keeping them, but is confronted by Naji, who had been mentally broken by Genkaku and is turned into a raging demon. Just as Naji goes on a rampage on all the guards, Ganta stands to protect Shiro, taking all of Naji's punches and trying to reason with him. Then, as Naji starts to come to his senses thanks to the bell Kareko wears reminding him of his comrades and friends, Kareko is suddenly stabbed by Genkaku. Naji stands to protect his friends but is shot by Genkaku, who begins killing the other guards, all the while Ganta starts becoming poisoned due to not having candy in quite some time. Hibana tries to escape but is killed by Toto, who had managed to obtain Sigi's abilities by drinking his blood. As Shiro enters the wretched egg mode, the stone in Ganta's chest glows and blasts a powerful shot, with Naji holding Jinkaku in place as they are both mortally wounded. Before dying, Naji gives his last piece of candy to Ganta. As Karako and some others escape, Ganta stays behind so that he can protect his friends. Toto becomes fascinated with Ganta's branch of sin, eager to know what it tastes like. The series ends with Shiro singing a lullaby to Ganta, who then remarks that he heard the same lullaby moments before his classroom was attacked by the Red Man, ending the series on a cliffhanger.